Paul writes, "Do not rebuke an older man harshly, but exhort him, encourage him, as if he were your father. Treat younger men as brothers, older women as mothers, and younger women as sisters with absolute purity." Hi, I'm Phil Routley, and this is Timothy, my son. Today we're beginning a look at Paul's first letter to Timothy, his spiritual son, and the 5th chapter. One of the great losses in our society as a whole is the loss of respect for one another. Apparently it's nothing new. I know that when I was growing up, I was taught to respect others, especially those in authority. Teachers were Mr. This and Mrs. That. Most people at church were Mr., Miss, or Mrs., but then a level of familiarity increased and we began to use first names more. I'm not convinced that caused a loss of respect, but it may have been the beginning of something. Some societies have moved faster in eliminating titles, but others, such as the U.S. South, I believe, are still more formal, with Sunday school teachers being called Miss Karen and so on, and lots of adults are uncle and aunt, like is often the case in Newfoundland here in Canada. But overall, there seems to have been a crassening of the culture. I don't believe language on its own is the cause, but as it's becoming an increasing symptom, it's reflected more in entertainment, music, movies, TV shows. Respect is diminishing. I expect it's a downward spiral where increased lack of respect causes more lack of respect, and so on. For example, a few decades ago, the transcripts of the Watergate tapes had the repeated use of the terms expletive deleted. The language being used in the Oval Office was considered to be not suitable for polite society. It clearly was being used, but you wouldn't dare use it in public. That same language is now constantly in the public sphere. It's almost impossible to watch a movie or TV show made for Netflix which doesn't have the F word in it. We watched Air, the story behind the creation of Nike's Air Jordan basketball shoes, and it was filled with language which we would not permit in our home. Canadian public television is much worse than U.S. network shows for language, and mainstream music is simply disgusting much of the time. Here's the thing. The language we use shows a lot about the respect, or lack of it, that we have for those who are listening. Several years ago, I heard Tony Campolo talk about the terrible conditions in Haiti and the need to get deprived children out of those terrible living conditions. He tells the story of boarding a plane and having a mother run to them, tears running down her cheeks and crying out, "Take my child, take my child." In church, he pointedly said, "The fact that the living conditions in Haiti are so deplorable that all I can say is that it's BS." Except he didn't say BS. And what's even worse is that many of you are more concerned that I said BS than you are about the living conditions in Haiti, Campolo said. He has a point. But I think that in some ways the two are related. Each is dehumanizing in its own way. In our own world, babies in the womb are often thought of as inconveniences to be aborted. In our world, women are often thought as being less valuable than men, are denied education, and are bought and sold as sex slaves, as are children throughout the world. In our world, old people are often thought of as expendable and irrelevant. So nothing's changed. Timothy, don't rebuke older men, but encourage them. Exhort them. Don't treat them like they're out-of-touch old fools who don't know anything. Instead, add value to their lives. Treat them the way you would want them to treat your dad. Timothy, treat younger men as brothers, older women as mothers, younger women as sisters with absolute purity. Every one of us wants to be treated with respect, and the best shortcut to receiving respect is to give it. But I want to add an extra comment or two from the last thought here from Paul. Treat younger women as sisters with absolute purity. And a caveat, women, treat men as brothers with absolute purity. In other words, not as sex objects or for sexual gratification. They say that 35% of internet usage is pornography. In a day, I may use the internet 30 times. That means that someone else is using it 15 times for pornographic purposes. I don't know the numbers, but apparently an increasing percentage of those users would be women. Equal opportunity, right? We live in a Western society that's treating sexual encounters as recreational activities. No holds barred, no limits, no expectations, no regrets, friends with benefits. So much of it is a hookup culture. You don't have to watch much TV to see it right in your living room. I actually wrote Treating Sexual Relationships and then edit it to encounters because so often there is no relationship. The expectation is go to a bar, hook up, have sex, sneak out to sleep in your own bed, get up, go to school or work the next morning, all as if nothing at all has happened. That doesn't sound like treat others as you would your sibling with absolute purity. A while back on the news, one of the stories was of a young man who raped a woman on a Philadelphia commuter train for something like 6 minutes after harassing her for 45 minutes and then ripping off her clothes. Passengers held their phones, some videoed it, did nothing, not even call 911. Finally, an off-duty employee called the transit cops and they arrested him in the act. We don't know how many people watched and did nothing. What would you do? I know it's not a simple thing. I might get hurt. I don't want to get involved. I'm too busy. I'm on my way to work. But the real question to ask is, what would be the right thing to do? Well, I hope you're going to have an incredible week, and may you be blessed, be treated with respect, and treat others in the same way. God bless.